When COVID hit, it was a whirlwind, to say the least.
We were only doing 25% of the sales we were doing previously.
At the conference, I started seeing my phone light up with cancellation after cancellation after cancellation.
One by one, my clients canceled events, canceled projects, and I was left considering whether or not to close the business.
We were lost, thinking that we would not be able to survive.
We really wanted to commit to our employees that we weren't going to lay them off or furlough them.
You know, the world went on pause, and our clients are brick and mortar businesses, and once they went on pause, we went on pause.
We realized quickly as a business and a country that no one really knew what was going on.
That's where the PPP loan came in, and Lendio really helped out.
And like many companies, we jumped at the potential lifeline that the Paycheck Protection Program offered and spent weeks trying to contact our bank unsuccessfully before reaching out to Lendio.
We had actually applied with a big bank before we ever heard of Lendio.
I did not have a prior relationship established with Lendio, and I didn't really know what to expect.
The application process was easy and simple.
Within a couple of weeks, he had matched us with a lender, got our application submitted. Just 9 days after that, our funds were in the bank.
So my experience with Lendio loans was simply amazing.
Lendio was a place that listened to me.
I'm incredibly thankful to Lendio.
Thank you, Lendio, for standing with us.
Thank you, Lendio.
Thank you, Lendio.
Thank you, Lendio!
Good afternoon, everybody. Dave Walker here, co-founder and CEO of the B2SMB Institute. And we're here again to showcase one of our nominees for BEST2SMB Award in 2020, in this case in the category of Brand of the Year, and that is Lendio. And I'm joined by Brock Blake, their founder and CEO. Welcome, Brock.
Thanks, David. It's good to be with you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you again. First and foremost, congratulations.
Thank you. We feel so honored to be included with this list of companies, that some incredible brands on there. To have our name be mentioned with them is a real honor.
Well, it's obviously taken years to develop, this distinct brand identity that you guys have in the space that you're in. And my hope is that for all of our award nominees, we get a little bit of insight into how the playbook developed. How did you get to the point where, particularly in 2020, you guys did such a good job with your brand? So you're the founder. Tell me the story. How did Lendio begin?
Well, I mean, the first thing to say is that, we've made every mistake in the book along the way. But we've had one thing that's been constant, and that is a passion for small business. Mm-hmm. And we've said from day one, what we call fueling the American dream, that business owners have this goal, this dream, this passion, that they're willing to sacrifice it all to build something special, that they can work for themselves and build something of value and serve their community. But many of them need capital to do it. And so that was our goal all along. That's kind of driven and is motivated us. But we started the business. Actually, out of school, I was at BYU, and I was studying entrepreneurship, and I heard about this program called Junto, but it was kind of like the TV show The Apprentice. Uh-huh. There were 100 applicants, and they narrowed it down to 20, and the 20 of us went through an 8-week boot camp where we were doing all sorts of sales competitions and marketing competitions. I'm telling you, just like The Apprentice, without Donald Trump and the glitz and glamour and the camera. But at the end of the 8 weeks, they selected 5 and gave us each $50,000 to start a business. And so I was one of the winners, and I could take that $50,000 to start any business I wanted. And I was out talking to business owners and doing research and trying to figure out, what am I going to do? I almost bought 2 businesses. One was an ice cream business, and this other technology company. But the common thread among all of those stories, as I was talking to these business owners, is that everyone needed capital.
Yeah.
And so we decided, hey, this is a problem we should chase.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, we tried to solve it in a different way. We were trying to help business owners connect to angel investors and venture capitalists through kind of a dating website.
Okay.
And we were doing speed pitching events like speed dating, and you'd post your business plan on the website and all that. And what we learned was that the majority of businesses in America are Main Street businesses. They're not the high flying tech companies that are going to go out and need and raise venture capital. They're Main Street restaurant owners and landscapers and retail shops and, you know, dry cleaners and all these things. And they need, you know, $25,000 versus, you know, 25 million.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a few years of kind of, you know, banging our head against the wall, trying to make that model work, we finally were like, we just have the wrong business model. And finally, we launched Lendio in 2011, and through some incredibly painful experiences that I'm just brushing over. But with this goal to help Main Street business make it easier for them to connect to lenders and get the loan that they need.
Did you always have in your mind this notion of small businesses and the American dream? Was that kind of there from even back in the incubator phase that you were in?
You know, I wouldn't say from the incubator phase, because I didn't quite get it. I didn't quite understand, you know, what the American dream was, or, you know, I was probably just too young and naive. And, you know, the more time we spent with these customers, and I realized how much passion they had for this baby, for this thing they were building, and they'd spent years and they passed it through generations, and how much their business meant to them and how much ingrained in their life it was. It started to really come to life for me, to be able to understand the difference, the impact we could make. And, you know, I love doing something that is cause oriented, that actually, you know, makes a difference in the world. And once I kind of caught that vision, and then I realized you know, there's a lot of people who are, you know, somewhat patriotic like me and understand Main Street, that want to get behind that vision. And that was fun when you started to recognize that this was really resonating, not only with team members that we could recruit, but the community. That doesn't make your business any easier. You still have all the same business challenges, but it is helpful to know that you're part of a cause and you're, you know, trying to help people make their life easier.
And I think that's you know, if I have to kind of put a check mark next to a really important element of your playbook, is that you guys recognized from a very, very early point that having this cause, having this real genuine purpose at the heart of this product that you were developing was actually going to make it far more successful. But I also want to kind of ask the question of you know, during those early times and you're creating your lending product, I mean, it's not exactly like the lending space is uncrowded. What was your take on it that kind of created something you felt that was, I'm sure they lectured you on in your incubator days, of what's your point of differentiation? How are you going to be competitively responsive? Those kinds of things. So what was it that you thought you could do uniquely?
Yeah, I think because it was crowded, and that's why we chose to be a marketplace versus a lender. I mean, perhaps if it wasn't so crowded, we would have said, let's go be another fintech lender. And but we felt like, you know, in life, we as consumers and individuals love a good deal. We like to comparison shop. We like, you know, it's been we're accustomed to that in our travel life, in our shopping life, and you know, mortgage. But for some reason in small business, you know, there wasn't that opportunity, and it was becoming, you know, more and more crowded with lenders in the space. And we didn't feel like there was a great experience for business owners to really compare and contrast loan options that are out there. And not only that, you know, with mortgage lending and consumer lending, it's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of differentiation. There's 30-year mortgages, but you're all under, and there's 20-year mortgages and 15 and whatever. But there's not a whole lot of different mortgage products. But in business lending, it's way more complex, because there's lines of credit, and there's SBA loans and equipment loans, and there's, you know, commercial real estate and cash flow and AR, all these loans. Each one of them underwrite a very different asset class, and most business owners kind of feel like, you know, I've been banking with this bank for you know, 20 years. If anyone's going to give me a loan, it's going to be this bank. And they go and apply for a loan with their bank, and they get declined, and they realize, well, it's not because I'm not qualified. It's because that bank doesn't offer all the loan products. You know,
Right.
they only offer one loan product, and
Right.
so there was so much more confusion and so much. It was very, very inefficient on both sides, and just felt like the whole industry, there's an opportunity to be disrupted. And you know, early on it was hard because there wasn't very much technology in the space at all. Most lenders were doing everything kind of paper-based applications and stuff like that. So I think it was because it was crowded and because there was confusion and it was very inefficient that it created opportunity for us to be able to innovate and say there is a chance to be, you know, to go and add value into this very confusing space. And that's why we chose the marketplace.
So you launched the marketplace. Give us like a brief history of the evolution of Lendio as you guys, from then till now, from 2011 to now.
We don't have enough time.
Yeah, right.
All the fits and starts that we've been through. You know, we started off kind of early days selling to banks and credit unions, and it was more lead gen. Business owner would sign up with a name and email and a couple pieces of information, and then we would match them to a lender, and the lender would reach out to them. And you know, there was a few challenges with that model. The lenders weren't very good at following up with the leads, one, and number two, the customer experience pretty much sucked. I mean, no one likes to sign up for something and all of a sudden your phone gets bombarded with 10 phone calls from a bunch of different, you know, people. And we just felt like, but we were trying to make that model work for, you know, a little while. And we knew that there was interest on the borrower side, there was interest, and we knew there was interest on the lender side. So we felt like there was something there. But then, you know, in about 2013-ish, maybe early 2014 is when we said, well, instead of this being lead gen, let's handle the entire customer experience and get real offers from the lender. Let's gather all the loan docs, let's pull the credit, let's look at the full package, and then send that package in an anonymous fashion to the lender. And let's say they can't ever reach out to the customer until they give us an offer.
Right.
And we flipped that on its end, and we started handling the customer experience where everything went through us, and they didn't ever have conversation with the lender until they got an offer. And I'm telling you, like, it was overnight where we realized this is the customer experience.
Right.
Business owners loved it, lenders loved it. And so we started, you know, building technology around that, and kind of haven't looked back since.
And what do you think about, what was it about the customer experience that you felt like so early on, yeah, we nailed it? What were you getting in feedback? What were they pointing you to?
Well, they love the fact that, you know, they have one person on our team. At the time, we didn't have a lot of technology. So they had one person on our team that they could interact with that guided them through the ability to look at several loan options. And so we'd still give them choice, which was critical to being a marketplace, be able to give them 3 or 4 or 5 offers. So, and then have someone there to help them look at offer A versus offer B versus offer C, and give them some guidance around that. And then once they chose, then to work directly with the lender to get, you know, to get the loan funded and serviced. Just that whole aspect, the response from our customers was overwhelmingly positive. They loved it. They were referring their friends. They wanted to come back and, you know, do a second and third and fourth loan. And so it was the feedback we were getting early on it was very apparent that the customer experience was, we were on the right track. Hadn't got it nailed, but we were on the right track.
But I was going to say, and you've at least stuck with that model since 14, right?
Yep.
And obviously made tweaks and adjustments to, you know, to improve the experience. But the basic process of having a single person who kind of walks you through the loan process is, I think, something. It's still pretty differentiated on your part. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and we've added significantly more technology to the experience now, and really tried to differentiate, like, where do you add a person versus where can they do it on their own? And we've narrowed down the moments where a person is really important part of the conversation, and then leveraging technology to make it, more scalable and more efficient. So the challenge with doing that the way we in 2014 was the customer experience was great, but the unit economics were never scale. We were losing money on every loan we did. So the more loans we did, the more money we lost. And that's really candidly the challenge with this space, is that other people have tried to do what we're doing. They just cannot make the unit economics work. And so they try and then they pull out because of that. And that's another kind of major part of our differentiation is we've figured out how to get leverage technology and get the conversion rate high enough and where it makes very much economic sense, and we're able to do it at scale. And so that we didn't figure that out until about mid 2016. And then even from then, we just like really, quarter over quarter, just consistent, positive growth, one that we're really proud of.
And as well you should be. So give me a sense of the trajectory of Lendio pre-pandemic, and now the trajectory of Lendio not post-pandemic, but in pandemic. What's changed really in your trajectory, if anything?
Well, it's we've been consistently growing between 75 to 100% year over year for about 4 or 5 years now, and so that's been fun to see. And this year's no different. We'll probably be around the same amount of growth. It's very different growth than it is nothing like what we planned. Through Q1 we were well on track, but then Q2 kind of went for a definite detour for all of us. But in the end, we should be around the same trajectory of growth from where we were planning. And so it's a, I don't know where you wanted me to go from there. But
how the hell did you do that? Because there's plenty of people listening to this who certainly can describe the happy days through March of, it looks like we're going to hit our forecast. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose, and they haven't yet fully restored their trajectory. And it sounds like you guys have. What do you think what were the ingredients that really made for you guys able to return to the growth rate that you'd enjoyed in the past?
Well, during one of our webinars, we talked about this, and so I won't go into as much detail, but we as a marketplace, the great thing about a marketplace is you can plug in lenders and you can plug in loan products. So if one lender stops lending, you can pop them off the platform, you can plug another lender in, and you just keep going on your way. And so fortunately, as a marketplace, when some of the other lenders stopped lending in March, we saw had a little bit of foresight to be able to say, hey, this PPP thing, every business owner in America is going to need one of these loans. And we're in a position we've got all these things that we've built up over the last few years that puts us in a really position of strength. Again, I think I'd read there was maybe I told you about it. There was a quote by Winston Churchill that kind of talks about, when someone is figuratively tapped on the shoulder and for their life moment, and will they be prepared for that moment? Right. And I kind of sent this to our team, and I said, this is our moment. And how sad would it be if we didn't meet this opportunity? And so we decided we were going to go all in on this PPP program. And while, everyone else was doing layoffs and pulling people back, we hired 250 team members. We went and added 200 new lenders to our platform. Think about that, onboarding 200 lenders with all the legal agreements for each one of them, and all the other, requirements that go into that. Normally you onboard a bank and it takes you 6 months. And we were trying to add 200 in a matter of about 12 days. It was just crazy. And we added 100 new partners, and we put in about 10,000 engineering hours to develop this digital PPP application with a back end where we could deliver it to each one of the 200 lenders, really starting from scratch, because the application was so new and so unique and so different. And we just went for it. And we made some big bets. We were flying close to the sun. We had times where I thought for sure we were going to crash and burn because, after the first weekend, we had so much demand. Every bank in the country had more demand in one weekend than they had in the previous 14 years combined. And it was, and so a lot of the financial institutions who came on board to fund more PPP loans, after one weekend, they said, just kidding, I'm out. I cannot take on any more customers. I know I was going to fund a lot of your customers, but we are overwhelmed. Don't send us anything. And literally, we went from a couple hundred lenders, as 300 lenders wanting to fund PPP loans, to 0 in a matter of 3 days. On Tuesday, we had tens of thousands of business owners that had signed up for Lendio for a PPP loan, and we didn't have a lender that would take any one of them on, not one. And we were scrambling like crazy trying to find a lender that would take on customers, and losing credibility with our team. And I mean, it was scary there for a minute. And I thought it was going to be we would have been the opposite of the brand of the year. We would have been the disaster of the year because we had so many business owners who were depending on us, and we would have failed them.
Right.
And Thursday night, about 11 o'clock my time and 1 a.m. Eastern, I cut a deal with a lender that they were willing to they were a non-bank SBA lender, Ready Capital, and they took on they said, we'll take on, up to 30,000 customers. Actually, they said they would take on more than that. And that opened up this floodgates, and we added, a dozen other lenders that could take on. And then the other lenders started opening up. And anyways, I could go on and on.
No, I mean, that's an incredible story. And I as I'm listening to this, I'm also aware from the outside looking in that it's somewhere in this process that is so demanding from an executional standpoint. You come up with this idea of a branding ad that you want to make, that you really want to take this opportunity to deliver the message about saving the American dream. And I just want to understand, how, where did that come from? Where did the idea of doing that come from?
Well, fueling the American dream has been our mission from day one. And at this point, it was not about fueling. No one was talking about growth in this moment. And it was so personal. Every person that I know, from, elementary school to high school to community, to cousins, friends, to any person you've ever met that's owned a business, is now texting you and calling you saying, please help me save my business. Like every single day that goes by, I'm going from this, I can watch this, my baby just slipping through my fingers because I need the lights turned on, and I need help making payroll. And I mean, the pressure that was built up to me personally, and it wasn't just me, but every team member, I'm assuming, had the same thing, where they're like, you're in the lending business, you help small business owners get loans, please help me save my business. And it became very apparent and very personal that this was no longer fueling the American dream. This is saving the American dream, and helping them keep their lights on. And every business that we fail is another business that might go out of business and affect the economy. And it was very, very personal. I can't even explain to you the amount of stress and pressure that we felt at night and morning, very little sleep, and very little time with our families for about 4 to 6 weeks. And they were just, my family, my wife and kids were literally just neglected because there was so much pressure.
Right.
So through all that, it became very apparent that we were saving the American dream. And that was our mission.
Well, I remember, and I even think I sent you a note at the time. I remember seeing the 30-second commercial, and I wouldn't even call it a commercial because it didn't have an ask. It wasn't trying to sell anything. It was just trying to, frankly, create an awareness that I think viscerally all of us could understand at a really, really raw level of, my God, this is what's really going on. And I applaud you for finding the bandwidth, the mental space to actually say, yeah, this is something we actually want to communicate. Tell us a little bit about the creative process of doing that ad. Because we'll show it at the end of this so that everybody gets a chance to see how really terrific it was. But I think that's what, frankly, got you guys noticed by the people who nominated you for this award.
Well, it was that's a story in and of itself, because we were working on a different ad. And the ad was a very, kind of humorous, a little bit crazy, funny, like, opportunity for us to go build a brand from that perspective. And the whole concept behind the app was this concept of go big, but it was go big-ish. And it was kind of, and there were some funny things we were going to do with it. And so, I mean, we were right in the middle of that process, and we were just about to go shoot, and all of a sudden, the world changed overnight. Yeah. And so we said, well, we're going to stop this. But then we're like, business owners need hope right now. Mm-hmm. And so it was not in any way, we didn't even really say anything much about Lendio. It was, we wanted to be very sensitive to what people were going through, but just give a little bit of that hope that we understand. Mm-hmm. And we're here to we want to help, and we're in this together type thing. And so we decided to run with it. And we said, but we've got to get this thing out in a matter of what normally takes, months. We had to get it out in weeks. And so we had a creative team that just went to work, and they were shot here, and we're just outside of Salt Lake City. And they went and that wasn't necessarily going to be the case, but they went and found streets, like real life signs and everything that, and shot it on a Saturday. And we got that thing up pretty quickly. And the creative team, we hired a creative team, and they nailed it. I thought the tone was well done. And so anyways, it was a piece of work that we were really quite proud of, and hopefully it shared the right message.
Well, it was emblematic of who you guys are, but it was also iconic for the moment, because it probably better than any ad that I saw out there, it captured the moment really, really well. And by capturing the moment, I really mean it wasn't one of those messages that kind of, very solemnly intones during these challenging times. It's kind of like, yeah, we're all aware of that. We're all aware that it's challenging times, but connect us basically to that really kind of that hope that you saw small business really had, and why that message must have been so encouraging for them. So again, kudos to you, kudos to the creative team, the agency.
Thank you.
I think that they really did an absolutely terrific job. How was the campaign received? What was the feedback, other than, my fanboy remarks? What were some of the things that people said to you once they started seeing it?
Yeah, we got a lot of really, really positive response and feedback, and things. The only negative feedback that I ever saw on Twitter or anywhere else was, we'd run it for, probably 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. And I remember this was like in May, and there was someone on Twitter kind of said, okay, we're over coronavirus, like, let's move on to something else type thing. Like they just thought that this pandemic was going to be a 4-week thing, and we were going to be done. And so, after that, it was shortly after that where we decided, we wouldn't run it. But, now looking back 6 months later, it's like, wow, we were just getting started, and
that's the extraordinary part, right? I mean, is there a sequel to that ad that you guys have contemplated?
We've talked through it. We just haven't found the right, the right message. And with everything that's going on today, especially with the political environment, I kind of feel like we just need to let that kind of settle down.
One more voice. That's a fair position to take, I think. As much as it would be welcome, I think that it is such a noisy time right now that it probably really wouldn't break through. So 2020 is almost over. The crises are certainly not almost over. We wish they were. But how do you see Elendio's future, just through the end of the year into 2021? Do you guys feel like you're going to continue to grow and kind of meet the moments as they come?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? We're really optimistic about the future. That doesn't mean there won't be challenges, because there are and there will be. But there's a few things that we're working on that we're pretty excited about. Number one, the marketplace is coming back. Lenders, week by week, we're seeing more and more loans being funded. And so we're excited about that, where lenders are starting to, they realize that, the world changed on April 1st or around that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, there has been stability in the market. And so now you've got about 6 months of data that you can go and underwrite. And while it's not pre-COVID, it's still a period of stability that you can underwrite. And so I'm optimistic, and lending has existed from the beginning of time. It will exist until the end of time. It's just it'll go through some, peaks and valleys. So I'm anxious to see that and come back. Two, I'm really anxious to see, one of the things that we've been betting on is that a lot of banks and credit unions, when they went through this PPP program, they realized that they need to do a much better job with digital loan applications. They can't do things in the branch with paper and all of that like they used to. And so the demand we're getting from our lenders around providing them technology and an online application, some of the things we did with PPP, and helping them lend in with SBA loans and some other things like that going forward, I think is a real big opportunity, and one over the next 12 to 24 months is one I'm really excited about.
And you guys in that case would have to be the easy button, right? Because you're not requiring them to really invest or invent any technology. You're actually providing it to them.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So it's a great opportunity there. And then we made an acquisition about a year ago, which we call Sunrise by Lendio, and this is a cash flow tool that helps them, manage their cash flow, does their financials, their P&L, balance sheet, cash flow statement. We have a bookkeeping service with it. We have invoicing tools and other cash management tools. And the uptake from with that product, particularly over the last 4 months, has been just astounding. And so quite excited about that, because what that allows us to do is it allows us to, when a business owner comes in and maybe they're not qualified for a loan today, let us help you manage your cash flow. And then as we're monitoring your cash flow, we can tell you the exact moment that you are qualified for a loan in the future. And so maybe it's 3 months and 4 days. We can alert you and say, hey, you're qualified for a $25,000 loan. Click here to take it. So they don't have to guess. They don't have to wonder. They don't have to think about it. They can just kind of have this going on in the background and monitoring things and letting them know. So that product's pretty exciting. And then I guess finally I'd say, I think there's going to be another round of PPP. Most businesses have used up their PPP money, and we're not out of the quarantines. We're not out of the, many of the restrictions. Many of these businesses, particularly restaurants and retails, have been hit so hard, and to no fault of their own. So I am strongly encouraging and hoping that Congress will, quit playing politics, and they'll figure out a second round of a stimulus package to help these business owners get another round of PPP and get on their feet. And if that comes, and when that comes, we'll certainly be ready for that as well.
Yeah, and I kind of believe, maybe like you do, that it's not a matter of if, it's really just a matter of when, and they're going to have to back around for for however much longer, to really answer that question. Well, look, I sincerely hope and frankly feel confident that when, the world doesn't have to save the American dream any longer, it can go back to fueling the American dream, that you guys will be incredibly well positioned to do that. And I think that, like all great brands, the loyalty that you build in crisis is a permanent loyalty. It's very hard to shake that off, and there's a lot of brands who can certainly point to that. So again, congratulations, Brock, to everybody there on the team. You guys absolutely walk the talk of a great business, a small business brand. And I really appreciate you telling us the story behind the campaign that you did this year, and really more importantly about what Lendio is all about. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, David. Appreciate it. Appreciate what you do for the small business community. You do great work, and you have great content and an incredible community that you built. So kudos to you as well. Thanks.
Thanks, ma'am. Okay.